Hey, what's up, everybody? So, in this video, I'll be doing a little bit of a rant about how good Dauntless was in the past, especially its peak. And honestly, I just want to jump straight in and say it's crazy to think of Dauntless back in the day. When you look at it from now to then, man, Dauntless really had an incredible stamp and a level of prominence that I feel like not many people recognize. When I delve into asking some real life uh, people, pretty much in every walk of life, and I asked them like, "Have you ever heard of a game called Dauntless?" A lot of these people actually have heard of it, especially from COVID days. Pretty much when Nintendo Switch of it and a full cross-platform across four different outputs released. And that's pretty much when Shock or Escalation itself first released as well. Looking back on it now, it's crazy to see how far Dauntless has gone and how big it once was. So many top tier content creators were covering it like crazy. And on top of that, competition was at its peak. Trials was booming. And a lot of people were, you know, rightfully so, delving into all that content that was just sitting there for everybody to experience for the first time. I'll never forget the gameplay cycle when it came to legitimately just going into patrols and pursuits and going through the chain, starting from Baby Emmermain and Baby Nasher, all the way to Shroud and Reza to Heroic Plus stuff. It was an amazing process, honestly. It was an amazing system that made you really appreciate all the things Dauntless had to offer. I have my own critiques about Reforge, and to be completely honest, just summarized, I actually don't think Reforge is as good as Dauntless OG, classic Dauntless, having all the patrols and pursuits and the original escalation ready to go. I think that was peak. And in all honesty, it's unfortunate that they completely foregoed pursuits and patrols. Those were absolutely fun to be able to configure and customize to be able to accommodate for different experiences, other than killing Behemoth as well, to help increase longevity within the game in a guild or organization or community. Winter Clan, the guild that I was in, used to make so many different events, so many crazy creative events that we ended up implementing because it was pretty much building upon a clean slate that was patrols, pursuits, and anything, right? That essentially was OG Dauntless. It was it was a shame when all of that went away. I remember. I actually ended up becoming one of the testers for Reforge back in the day, and remember I gave my 2 cents as to how it could be at the best that it possibly could be. Fortunately, didn't exactly look that good when it first came out, and it was slowly optimized to a level where it was refined to the extent that they thought was acceptable. But at the same time, I can never stop thinking about OG Dauntless. And that's the cruel thing as well, is that when you played in OG Dauntless, there was more of a community all around the game. Thinking back on it now, it's like you can think of I can think of so many different streamers that used to just sit for 10 plus hours a day giving top 100 carries. And those top 100 runs would actually be hell sweaty. At least from the perspective of someone who didn't really play that much trials, or someone who was like a casual, right? They would actually need to learn to an extent to actually have a successful run and see if they can actually get it for them. And even if it was three people carrying, because there were actually people competing quite a bit for Dauntless Trials back in the day. It wasn't just a gimme. I remember I bumped into a streamer called Amirullah Reef, and he was just the kindest person ever. He really showcased to me the kindness that could potentially come um, through being a streamer, through being a content creator, and being able to give back to the masses. He was a great guy. Um, and yeah, it's crazy to think how small the pool of content creators is now, especially when A whole lot of them in the past were actually pretty successful at the time. And a whole lot of YouTubers, right? A whole lot of streamers too. The Trials players were off the wazoo. Derperific was having a grand old time posting videos. 32, Shanks, Ravi, Trails, Doe, all that. It was booming. Those are the glory days of Dauntless. It's funny because I always like telling the story to a lot of people, and a lot of people love hearing about it because it sounds like such a journey to start from there and go all the way to now. Dauntless's peak was magnificent. And it's crazy because innately, Dauntless offered so much value as a game, more so than many others that I have played. And considering I have made it to a very high echelon in the various games that I truly deep dived in, right? Not many communities, or no other community, even AAA games like Fortnite, Apex, World of Warcraft, and all of that, had this magic that Dauntless had. Dauntless had the chance to be small, but at the same time tight knit, but also being prominent enough to be well renowned at its peak. It was a great balance. People got to know who the prominent people were, at the same time have the chance to interact with them appropriately. And Dauntless also had an amazing system that I feel like a lot of games legitimately just do not have or cannot implement because either the code is restricting them or the ping or the network's capabilities are not able to possibly even put people from all around the world together to compete competitively. But if you think about it, Dauntless can. You can legitimately have someone from Australia, someone from North America, someone from the EU, and someone from Asia all play in one team, and they actually would be competitive trials. It may be arguable as to whether or not the Australian can keep up in terms of 300 ping to get a top one, but it definitely is up there for sure. They'd be able to place at least, at the best, at least, right? Especially when they figure out our strat that's just significantly better than everything else, like at least top five. So definitely still competitive, and it's crazy to see that Dauntless had that. It was incredible. I miss the days when there was so much more and so much more to play around, so much more things to do. And it's funny because as much as patrols and pursuits are essentially just what Monster Hunter did, that I think was such a big factor into the gameplay cycle of Dauntless. It really made people truly believe they were jumping into a hunt, and it was immersive in its own way. The gameplay cycle was great. You're farming for arc stones. And it was nice actually seeing how many arc stones you had. Because it was actually like, I don't know, like a bragging rights in its own way. Same with some of the dire stones and heroic plus and heroic arc stones and even like the terra stones and all that. I forget what this terminology was for the elemental specific ones, but even then it was really cool to be able to showcase because you pretty much got them from the Eskas. I had a shitload of shock arc stones from the Eskas. I really wondered where all of them went, or were gonna go, especially when I was originally testing for Reforge. But holy, I just remember so many cool people. I remember the first time I delved into a guild was when Urban Weirdo, who had the moniker Son of Derperific, decided to invite me because I had a gold crown. I was chilling in OG Ramsgate, and he ran me through a few runs. I believe with space shorts, if I remember correctly, and it was actually kind of fun. I was trying to. I remember when I first jumped into the party with them, I was like, oh my god, I better make sure that I don't mess up. It's kind of funny because it was Urban Weirdo who taught me about baiting Shrave's boop from the get-go and not just going straight in and trying to insta-stagger it. It's like you bait his throw and then Scrape goes for a boop and then boom, easy kill. Good times, honestly, and I really miss some of the OG Dauntless designs, especially OG Shrike. OG Shrike looked crazy. Just a dark, scary looking bird. Owlbear thing. Man. And yeah, it's it definitely felt different back then too. The core execution system was not as optimized, and there was a little bit more latency. There's a little bit more lag. And the engine, as well as its response time towards the servers, wasn't up to par, especially refined, and a lot of players competitively had to struggle with a lot of different things. Like I remember ping-wise, whenever I'd play on my teammate's Riven server, I would actually have to do 4 hits on my Tempest form activation in order to even get it through. And that was honestly one of the most frustrating things because it really had to get me to understand like, holy fuck, I actually need to make sure I'm well positioned. I can't optimize too much. Even like heavy punches, sometimes the heavy would start with one quick punch and then begin with a three. And I ended up optimizing it to the point where I realized that in order to have the best speed when it came to getting to your clap or adamant bolt back in striker meta, immediately after you karma breaker, you instantly do light because that is just the fastest the server can respond to, and compared to all the other combos. And just cool reminiscing about good old Dauntless and the magic that originally had. So many good people back then, so many cool stories, so many individuals just trying to also make a name for themselves by competing in trials because it really seemed that prominent. There were so many people just in the general vicinity of Ramsgate, and Ramsgate felt poppin'. Whenever you pop into OG Ramsgate, there's always people there. And it always feels like there's people doing stuff. It doesn't feel like people are kind of just standing around. And even if they were just standing around in Ramsgate, it's like they kind of just go to the center and kind of chill there rather than chill in a Reforged Ramsgate in spawn and make it kind of meh. It felt nice. And OG Ramsgate had a lot of parkour opportunity. I don't know if people know about that. I should go back into some of my old videos and show you guys how cool old Ramsgate was because you had so much ability to explore the layout outside if you knew what to do. You just had a little, you needed a few emotes that you needed to actually pay real money for. But once you did, sky's the limit when it came to exploration. You legitimately felt like you were exploring a borderline, like a massive landmass that surrounded the entire area. And you'd go to the houses in the back, so far back, and you'll be exploring like the towns that you see from afar when you first spawn at a Rams. And I love that because yeah, it's technically a place player's not supposed to, but it makes it even more special to be able to be there, especially with friends who knew how to do it. Just you get 4 guys, they jump up and everybody's kind of taking amazing pictures. I kind of wish Dauntless went that route too, where they implemented parkour way more and gave players the opportunity to take more awesome overlooking pictures across the entire Shattered Isles. And same with the lore. It really had an amazing foundation slash clean slate to be able to work with. They could have went anywhere with a story, and it would have been badass if they introduced more and more lands on top of behemoths that players could jump to, like different hubs. That's honestly what I was expecting with the whole Reforged thing too. It's like I wish they had 2 Rams gates. It would have been amazing to be able to go back to OG and not feel like it's all blasted into oblivion because Thrax and his cronies decided to pop in and obliterate the land. But yeah, I miss OG Dauntless. It's such a shame that it's no longer around and doesn't have the same flair. All the behemoths are still there, but it's still not the same. Still not the same. I really miss the days where they didn't have the health bar on the top right hand corner. You just didn't know whether or not the behemoth was going to die, but you were doing your best to make up for it. To be honest, it's not too much of a gripe, but I really loved at least you getting up to a point where, you were just killing behemoths and you didn't have to care too much about their health. You were just doing your best and popping the fuck off, but focus on the behemoth rather than constantly looking to your top right, seeing if their health is low. Really made for some interesting fights, especially for those who didn't know the attack patterns of various different top tier hardcore behemoths like Rifty for the first time, or Shroud or Reza, even Tempestborn Stormy, or yeah, but it's badass. It was badass. I miss it dearly. But honestly, I just wanted to put out a little rant video about Dauntless here, and kind of hopefully incite some nostalgia, because I feel like a lot of people agree with or have similar sentiments about OG Dauntless, and I decided to run it back and do a one take rant and see what you guys thought about this. We'll do a little bit of a update some point later in the week about what my plan is, and I'll honestly be implementing more one take rants about a lot of different things and just continuously expand upon them. See see how well I can improve myself at being able to present and stop pushing myself or not pushing, stop certain mistakes from coming up. Like me saying a lot, or me saying a lot, or me not exactly knowing how to uh, flip between multiple complex topics really, really fast. So it's going to be a really fun journey to be able to improve myself, but at the same time, give some cool content for y'all to listen to while you play video games or while you're doing something else entirely. But once again, guys, I gotta say, I really appreciate everybody for coming out to help support me and watch my stuff. I know I say this in every single video, but it's honestly really cool to be able to see all those comments and be able to see what people want to say, and it's awesome. It's cool. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for me. I appreciate everyone's time, and I hope, and I truly hope, everybody has an amazing night. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye now.